Now it's time for our weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, President of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All yours, Dan.
Well, thank you for this, Teresa. A week in which we, as I predicted last week, are starting to see some pretty significant increases in the price of gasoline. If you look across the country, we have in fact seen, as I had indicated last week, about a 3 or 4 cent increase. So Vancouver's been up about 7, 8 cents a liter. Not many people paying attention to that and finding excuses not to consider it. Calgary, Edmonton, so much of Alberta up about 5 cents a liter. Ditto for Saskatchewan. Of course, Manitoba is still in the 145 range. And of course, Ontario now pushing a little bit towards the 160 range, but 159, 158. The only difference being in many cities across Ontario, especially Southern Ontario, retailers are giving away their 8% retail margins. They're sometimes charging only 3 or 4 cents a liter. So that's why you see prices a little lower. It's a bit of a head fake because sooner or later they have to come up for air. They have to honor credit cards. That's 2 cents a liter. They have to honor, loyalty programs. That might be another penny a liter or two or three or four, depending on what it is. They have to turn on their pumps, pay for their staff. You can't do that on 3 cent liter retail margins if you're only selling 15, 20,000 liters a day. I don't care who you are. Sooner or later, you have to come up for air unless you're going to overcharge people on the beef jerky inside your C stores. Quebec will do the same thing, usually about 10 cents a liter more. They're in the 168, 169 range. It varies between Quebec and Montreal. And Atlantic Canada, which saw a pretty big increase, 4 cents a liter for gasoline and 8 cents a liter for diesel. And diesel's the big issue of the week because no matter how you look at it, no matter how much U.S. Refiners are keeping up and producing more. The fact is they're using a lot of U.S. Their oil inventories dropping dramatically. 8 weeks in a row, we've seen a decrease. They're now about 6 or 7% below the 5-year average in terms of inventories. That's a very dangerous situation, and it's likely to lead to even higher prices, not just for the price of oil, but as it makes its way through the economy. For most people, they're probably not aware of the fact that crude at about $78 a barrel for WTI works out to about 71, 72 cents a liter. The rest is tax and retail margins, as I've mentioned. But it does mean that we are heading in the winter months as things get colder, not just natural gas and propane, but diesel prices are also on the rise. At the beginning of the year, diesel was about $2 a barrel in the United States, $2 for a gallon, I should say. Now pushing a little bit, a lot closer to 261. And the weakening Canadian dollar doesn't help either. A lot of people tend to forget that. But after 30 years of doing this, of predicting gas prices, it's pretty simple to figure out that when a weak Canadian dollar loses ground to the U.S. greenback, prices of energy go up. Let me put this in perspective. Across Canada today, the variance being whether you have a GST of 5% or an HST of 13%, or in Quebec a TQS of 14.975 or 15% Atlantic Canada, you're losing about 28 cents purchase power on average in Canada. So anybody who thinks the Canadian dollar being weak is a cool thing, better think again. It's destroying affordability. It has a lot to do with the federal government's decision, along with its buddies in the bloc, the Greens and the NDP, to stop building pipelines. Because we're not getting our resources to international markets, our number one generator of revenue and also big trendsetter as far as gas prices are concerned and the value of the Canadian dollar, because that continues to be a problem, we can't sell to the rest of the world. Next week, we'll find out what tariffs really mean, because we can't sell that spare oil to other countries because we've blocked pipelines. This has been a real maddening policy, and I don't blame Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, one bit. When the rest of Canada has been swatting you in the face several times as Alberta and its resources, it's kind of rich for them to come back and say, we have to Team Canada approach. Yeah, where the hell were you 10 years ago when the country needed you? Look, I'm from Eastern Canada, and I served as a Liberal member of Parliament, fought the oil industry. But when it comes to bad public policy, green policies advocated by Justin Trudeau and, yes, the Mark Carneys and, the Chrystia Freelands of this world, who temporarily will hold that seat and continue to manage to throttle the country, you have to kind of ask why the country accepted having people destroying our resources and our prosperity and our standard of living. And that's showing up every single day in their standard of living with a low Canadian dollar. Expect prices to go a little higher this time next week, and we will talk to you a little bit more about that at that time. Thanks again, Teresa.